Diageo's four biggest U.S. spirits brands are all losing volume against the largest promotional surge this cycle. Promotional activity rose 320 basis points by value in the 4 weeks to 13 June. Crown Royal fell 13.1% year-on-year. Smirnoff dropped 10.6%. Captain Morgan declined 5.7%. Casamigos fell 4.2%. Every brand went further negative despite more spend, not less. Deutsche Bank analyst Mitch Collett retained buy at 1,759p on Tuesday against a closing price of 1,551.5p, a 13% implied upside. That call has full visibility into the same Nielsen data. The bull case is not that the current moment is strong, but that it is the trough, and restructuring plus brand investment will eventually convert. Today's data cannot confirm or refute that. It can only show that the trough is deeper and longer than the prior cycle suggested.
If volume does not recover, the only route to margin improvement is cost reduction, and that is the thesis Dave Lois is executing. Around 150 jobs are being cut in Ireland out of 1,200. The GB Managing Director, Chief HR Officer, Africa President, and North America Chief Marketing Officer have all left in recent months. The $2.3 billion sale of Diageo's East African brewery stake to Asahi Holdings, cleared by a Kenyan court in April, is expected to complete in the second half of 2026, reducing net debt from its $21.7 billion interim level. A $300 million cost savings program is underway, and the dividend has been cut for the first time in decades. The buried assumption in this restructuring case is a cost-led margin recovery is achievable without brand volume recovering. Terry Smith sold out of Diageo over exactly this concern. The cost cuts make sense if volumes follow. They do not stabilize a declining business if the demand loss is structural rather than cyclical.
Morgan Stanley estimated GLP-1 drug use could cut alcohol consumption by up to 75% among patients. Terry Smith cited that read when he sold his Diageo stake. The implication? If GLP-1 adoption expands in the U.S., Diageo's most important volume market, the promotional spend increase is a growing cost against a market that is not pausing but partially disappearing. Diageo's interim data shows group revenue up 0.3% and volumes up 0.4%, suggesting pockets of resilience outside the U.S. But the U.S. is where promotional acceleration is highest and where GLP-1 penetration is currently concentrated. The counter-argument DB implicitly holds is that GLP-1 patients and premium spirits buyers are different demographics. There is no data in the current pool that resolves which read is correct. What makes the secular case harder to dismiss than a brand-specific problem is that the declines are simultaneous across all four brands, not concentrated in one underperforming product. The checkpoint that separates the restructuring bull case from the secular bear case is the Capital Markets Day on 6 August, where Diageo has committed to revealing its full competitive framework and restructuring targets. One piece of counter-evidence worth tracking before then, Casamigos improved sequentially, and Diageo is a FIFA World Cup corporate sponsor across Johnnie Walker and Buchanan's this summer. If the World Cup window produces a volume uptick in the July Nielsen data, the cyclical case gets one confirming data point. If the largest promotional cycle in years produces no lift despite the sponsorship, the secular read becomes harder to dismiss. For a holder, the August 6 CMD is the action trigger. If Lewis embeds volume recovery assumptions into the restructuring plan, the position becomes a conviction hold into a brand recovery thesis. If the CMD reveals a margin-only plan with no credible volume pathway, the cost-cut story is a managed decline, and DB's 1759p target is stale. For a watcher, the entry setup requires both: a CMD that names volume inflection targets and a July Nielsen print showing World Cup spend moved volumes. Either condition absent makes 1551.5p a bet on restructuring arithmetic, not brand recovery, and that distinction is the variable that actually decides this trade. Every day after the close, we publish a market wrap and key issue analysis. Subscribe to the channel.